No, I can't wait to be a grandpa and just make every stupid comment known to man. That's like a life goal.
You already are like a grandpa.
Wait, the magic over borax trees.
This carriage house was built in 2022, so this is a new construction, but it matches the main house. They did a great job making it look authentic to match the main house. We use that when we have special events. It's like an extra space for us. Right, come on in. This is Lee. She's our tour assistant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We made it.
Look.
We did it. We made it without the rain. Everybody come on in. Come on into the entryway. So this is our grand entryway. Just a few ground rules. This is a museum, so we ask that you not touch anything, but you can record videos and photos as long as there's no flash. And we all have to stay together, so we all have to stay in the same room as each other as best we can. And let me know if you have any questions. Now, you're not allowed to touch anything, but every room has these gold chairs. If you need to sit down, you can sit in these chairs. And if more than one person needs to sit, we can always take a chair from another room as we go. But those are for us to sit in. So this is our grand entryway, and this sort of gives the vibe of a medieval hall. That was kind of the feeling of the Queen Anne at the time that was popular in the 1880s. And you'll see 1885 is carved into the wood there. And this little seated area with the fireplace under the stairs, it's called an ingle nook. And it was a very cozy, popular thing that people were putting in their houses at the time. Let's do a quick, I didn't get to talk about the house outside because I was afraid of the storm, but let me just show you. This is where we're standing right now. This front parlor was the original front parlor. Now it's our grand stair hall. And then there was the back parlor, which is now the study. And there was this staircase here, which was the only staircase when the house was built. So it was just mainly a front room and a back room, but it went up all the way the 5 stories. That was in 1818. Then in 1834, Captain Hutchinson bought the house, and he added this wing with the bay. And that had the dining room downstairs, and then upstairs was a bedroom. When the Grundys came in 1884, they really increased the footprint of the home. They completely changed it into this Queen Anne. They added all these extra rooms, the wraparound porches, and this was a closed ceiling. They opened up the ceiling to make this grand oak staircase, because you can't have a Victorian mansion without a grand staircase. So that was, and this is what this hall looked like I think everyone's getting the weather alert.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. This is what this hall looked like when the Grundys lived here. And so you can see it's very similar. And what makes this house special is, yes, it's the Victorian House Museum, but it's the Grundys' home. So 80 to 85% of what you're going to see belong to the Grundys. So it's really, really rare for a house museum to have that many items in the collections. And this picture is actually of their neighbor, Ethel Gilkinson, but she was seated in this area here, and you'll see this crazy lamp shade. That's still the same lamp that we have there, but this lampshade actually needed to be reproduced. So this is a reproduction based on this photograph. They made this wild lampshade. So, any questions here in the entry hall?
When you say Queen Anne, is that like the normal at that time period? Like every
Yeah,
house in Bristol would
I don't know about every house, but so Queen Anne's kind of ran from like the 1880s through like 19. Like I live in a Queen Anne. My house I live in is 1900. So Queen Anne was kind of popular for like 2 decades. So it depends on what era. Like the Grundys had a house on the Chamonix Creek that the grandparents had first. That was an Italianate. That was more popular like middle of the 19th century. And then you went to your Second Empire style houses, which had like the mansard roofs, then the Queen Anne, and then later it was like the Romanesque. So there's kind of like there was, every decade there was like a couple different styles that were popular. But the Queen Anne has like the gingerbread and the how we have the cedar like shakes on the side of the house, and the gables is a big part of the Queen Anne, and then the decorative windows. So you'll see some really cool windows while we're here. And the asymmetry is another big calling card of the Queen Anne. Any other questions here in the entryway? All right, let's come into the study.
I gotta read it now.
So this is a more masculine room. This was William's office when he was alive. And then after he passed away, this was Joseph's office. And you'll see the beautiful cherry wood with cherries carved into the woodwork and cherry leaves. And later we'll see a portrait of Joseph upstairs, and he's sitting in front of this fireplace. So you'll recognize the green tiles in the background of the portrait. This is the original Grundy carpet here. This is from the collections. The carpet where we were just standing on, that was a reproduction of the original Grundy carpet. The Langhorne Carpet Company made that in the Victorian style, but it was a reproduction of what was originally there. This is an original Grundy carpet. So you'll see a mix today of originals and reproductions. Now, Joseph was a politician, and he was appointed to the Senate, and then he ran for re-election. So we have some of his campaign items, these little teeny tiny Grundy pins, which could explain why he did not get reelected. There can even see his name. But the Clean Up with Grundy soap is pretty cool. We also have this hand carved letterbox that was made in India. And we have a newspaper article from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, which features Joseph Grundy. And it was when he was working on behalf of Calvin Coolidge in support of tariffs. For the tariff group. So Joseph Grundy founded the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. He also helped, there were so many things here in the town that he personally funded. The sewer systems, the paving of the roads here, the town hall, the Bristol Free Library, the fire department and all of its equipment. And other things. There's just so many things that Joseph Grundy helped fund here in town. So we're very thankful for that. Any questions so far in the study? You'll see this window here. It opens up into the ceiling, and you can walk out onto the porch. It's called a Jefferson window. This is Benjamin Earl Ridgway Jr. That was Mary Grundy's father. They were from New Jersey, and they were Quakers, so they were pacifists. And this was Mary's brother, Captain Joseph Ridgway. And he was a Quaker, but he felt an obligation to his country, and he did volunteer for New Jersey's 23rd Regiment of the Union Army for the Civil War, and he became a captain of Company G, and he led his men to the Battle of Fredericksburg, where unfortunately he died on December 13th, 1862. 1 year later, or one month later, Joseph Grundy was born. So Mary named her son Joseph in honor of his Uncle Joe. And so even though Joseph Grundy never met his Uncle Joe, he used him as an inspiration throughout his life and his duty to his town, his country, and his state. We have these are some handwritten notes that Joseph Ridgway wrote home from the war, and one of them is actually postmarked on the day that he died. So,
did the Grundys continue being Quakers, or?
No, actually, they kind of like fell off because they didn't. We don't have a lot about their religious activities, and Mary was a Quaker, but William wasn't. So I think when they got married, they kind of just like weren't into it anymore. But yeah. Now, let me see here. Here we go. You can pass this around. Now, if you already know, you don't get to guess. But if you don't know, you can guess what this upholstery is. I'm handing it around, passing it around. It's a very popular Victorian upholstery. And people used it all the time. Any guesses of what that's made of?
Is it horse?
It's horsehair, that's right. It was very popular. They made it in Germany. And we can pass this around too. That's the Lincrusta. That is what it looks like before it's finished. And that's what this finished product is here on the wall. It's got gives the look of a tooled leather. And Lincrusta was invented by the same man who invented linoleum. And that was made in England. So now this mimics the look of tooled leather. The Grundys were very wealthy, so they could have easily afforded to have real tooled leather. But the Victorians liked faux treatments. It was like a trend to have faux things. But we will see some real tooled leather in the next room. So I'll show you that. But on our way to the dining room, peek into the butler's pantry. You can sneak your head around the corner and you can see the dumbwaiter, which is how the food would get from the basement. The kitchen was below us. They would send the food up.
Oh, that's cool.
And also we have portraits of some of the servants, the maid and the housekeeper that worked with the Grundys for many years. Look in there. You want to look around the corner to the right, you'll see the dumbwaiter. And then you'll also notice the ceiling paper in here is the day sky, and when we get upstairs, it's the night sky. Yep, you can go into the dining room.
Kings, Royal Crown Derby Kings.
Also, the woodwork in that area is American chestnut, which is you can't get that anymore. So it's pretty cool that we have American chestnut. And this is actually the original mop and scrub brush that they're made. So we still have the actual cleaning product and cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
So this is the dining room.
Well, how was the house heated?
Okay, so there was a coal burning furnace. So if you remember from the street, it looks like there's 3 stories. But when you look from the water side, it's actually 5 stories. The very bottom story, there was a coal burning furnace. And so the hot air would come up and then it would come out through the vents. And then, so even though most rooms had fireplaces, they were more for ambiance. They really used the furnace to heat the house. And now today we use those vents for the air conditioner. This is another Jefferson window that would open up so you could walk out onto the veranda and you could see the sights and sounds of Burlington Island. This is our Cromwellian revival style furniture set, and this does have real tooled leather upholstered seats.
Doesn't that mom
Hmm?
No, it's not.
That's not like my mom's.
Now, this, normally the Grundy women love to buy china sets. We have like a zillion different china sets from the Grundy women. Normally each year we pick one set to put out the full set. Like last year we had the Royal Crown Derby King's pattern. But this year for America's 250, we put out a sampling of very many different china sets that they have, and they each have little tags. You can see some of them were from the late Victorian era, some of them were from very early in America's history. So we've got a whole array of rare china that belong to the Grundys. You'll also notice the unusual shape of the carpet matches this unusual shape of this room. This room was part of the addition that the Grundys put on and in 1885, and so they had this carpet custom made. This is a reproduction that the carpet company made for us, but this is exactly what the original carpet looked like, and all of these built-ins were custom. They knew they wanted to display their china, so they built this room exactly to their specifications.
Wanamaker. 1891.
When we get upstairs, there's a special exhibit room with all the different family crests following their family lineage, but we do have a few of the crests here. We have the Grundy crest, the Hume crest, and the Ridgway, and the Knight. Margaret was really into tracing the genealogy, and she traced their family history all the way back to people who signed the Magna Carta and King Alfred the Great from the 800s. So they were very, they had a very prestigious lineage. So, any questions here in the dining room? All right, let's come into the drawing room. So this is the drawing room. This would have been where they did a lot of their entertaining. And after dinner, they would come in here, they could play games. The furniture set up in this room were, depending on what entertainment they were doing, they could move things around. If they were playing a board game or looking at the stereoscope, this is something you can pass around. You look in it, and then you can slide this till the image is 3D. You want to take
that's the old iPhone.
Yeah, that was.
That's what we used to do.
Yeah. And so photography was like a new thing. So when you would go on vacation, you would maybe get one of these slides from where you had visited, and then you could show people, this is where we were. That one actually has a guy getting eaten by a bear. So. The furniture in here, a lot of it is the black ebonized or lacquered furniture that was part of the Japanesque aesthetic that was very popular in the Victorian times. This curio cabinet here, that was in the Grundy collection, and we had it in storage for 50 years, and then we brought it out. We have so many items from the Grundys that we don't have to always put everything on display. Now this is a special item we have for America's 250. This is Benjamin Franklin at the court of France in 1778. And this is an engraving that was done in 1853. And as I take the flashlight over, you can see the colors, how beautiful the colors are. There's Ben Franklin, and they're treating him like an emperor. And so that's something we have special for America's 250 here.
That's cool.
We have a few people to point out here. This is William Grundy. That was the father in the house who started the wool mill. And this is his wife Mary, the mother. And this is Mary's mother, Margaret. So she named her daughter Margaret after her mother. And then this is Mary's grandmother, Ruth Biffsum Fenimore. And Ruth, when she was 14, in 1792, she hand-stitched this needlepoint sampler. So we still have that from Grandma Ruth. And you're noticing our beautiful stained glass window. That was actually, you can see how beautiful the colors are, even on this rainy day. And it really does look like that every day. It glows every day. And the coloring in that window is what helped pick out the color scheme here in the room, the jewel tones. And you'll see the split flue, and this is, there's double chimney, and there's a lot of mahogany woodwork in here. So this is like a very rich room. Let's come into the reception room. And let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, where would you picture the servants? I missed that.
Oh, that's in the butler's pantry. So,
I'll go back.
yeah, we'll swing back through there. So this is the reception room, and we call this the modern room because it's decorated in late Victorian, early Edwardian decor. This is decorated circa 1900 to 1910. I call it the girly room because it's very girly, and this is where if females came to visit, female callers, and they would have social calls in here. And the reason why this is decorated late Victorian, early Edwardian is because Mary and Margaret went to Europe after William died. He died in 1893, and then Mary and Margaret were in Europe for over 10 years. Margaret didn't come back till 1906. And that was part of her mourning process to get over the death of her father. But when they were in Europe, they did a lot of shopping. So this is a lot of items that they purchased in France and Italy, and then they would send it home. So when they got home in 1906, they had lots of stuff to decorate the house with. We actually have a newspaper article from when Margaret came back in 1906. They had a reception party to welcome her home, and it wrote about what she was wearing in the newspaper article. Miss Grundy looked charming and picturesque in a frock of white satin, veiled in white chiffon and real lace with diamond ornaments. She held a huge bunch of violets. So you can imagine how beautiful she looked. And you'll also notice our gilding. This is gold leaf on the furniture. And this is sort of where the term the Gilded Age came from. This is like really translucent. It's very just the outer layer that's gold. Underneath there's like glue and all sorts of not as beautiful things. And that's how Mark Twain coined the term the Gilded Age, because the upper echelon of society was living these golden lives, but the underclass was really struggling. So that tapestry is another item that had been in storage and never displayed. The Grundy women purchased that in Europe, sent it home, and then they never got around to hanging it. So we got it out of storage, and we added the rod for the pocket for the rod and the tassel trim, and now you can see how beautiful the tapestry is. And you can see the colors are really pretty good in that still, whereas upstairs we have some original upholstered chair and footstool, and you can see how over time the colors do fade. So with the chemical dyes, sometimes they lasted and sometimes they didn't. And also part of this room being the early 1900s theme. And here we have the gasolier, which was when you were changing over from electricity or from gaslit to electricity. So the downward facing bulbs would have been electric, and then the upward facing bulbs would have been gas. And the woodwork in here is maple, so it's a little lighter. Any questions here in the reception room? All right, let's go upstairs. If you want to take a look in the butler's pantry real quick, just walk down there and you'll see there's two photographs of two women, Matilda and
So did you say the upholstery for these chairs is the original?
That is not. That was redone in 2019, 2020. There was a refurbishing that happened here. So a lot of things got reupholstered and the drapes were all redone. So that is not original upholstery. So yeah. All right. Now you can please do touch the banister so nobody falls. So use the banister and watch your step, and I'll meet you at the top. Actually, I'm going to stay here, but you guys can go up to the top. So, we didn't hear the grandfather clock yet, but we will hear it at 4 o'clock. This is a real grandfather clock. It's family heirloom. This was Mary Grundy's grandfather's wedding gift. He was married in 1795. He married a woman named Prudence Borton, who was his brother's widow. And this was their wedding gift. And when they built the house and they were going to put this grand staircase in, they knew they wanted to put the grandfather clock here, so they built this little nook just for it. And these are the original sconces with this colored glass. Those are part of the Grundy collection. And the clock has like a night theme, and it still works. It gets wound every Tuesday. And these are the two original Grundys to come to America. That's Edmund Grundy and Thomas Grundy. They were brothers. They came over in the 1820s from England. They were hoping to be successful in the cotton industry, but there was a recession and they immediately went back to England. But Thomas's son stayed. His name was also Edmund, and he was an importer-exporter, and he married Rebecca Hume, and her grandfather founded Humeville. So if you know local Humeville, she was the grandfather of the man who founded that. And then they had William Grundy, who is over here. That's when he was a little boy, but he was the father in the house here. And that's his brother named Edmund, but they called him Ned. And we happen to call that that American pronghorn there, we call him Ned too. So you'll also notice the speaking tubes, they still work actually, and the yep. And then here you can touch this. This is a sample of this wallpaper that you see, the wallpaper trim. This wallpaper was debuted at the 1876 Centennial Exhibit in Philadelphia when the World's Fair was held in Fairmount Park. And it was designed by a man named Christopher Dresser. And this was part of the renovation when they did in 2019, 2020. So this wasn't original to the Grundy house, but it is original from the era, and it's just so awesome. And the metallic paints are so beautiful. It's so great. Any questions about any of that?
Where did this lamp come from? Any idea?
I don't know about this lamp. I'm not sure if that's from the Grundy collection. I know that this sconce actually is from the Grundy collection, but I think it was somewhere, it was in a different part of the house, or it might have even been at Walnut Grove. And then later when we get into that hallway there's a sconce up on the 3rd floor that they purchased to try to match that one. But I don't know actually about this one. Do you have a guess?
It's Chinese. It's
Okay.
a dragon
Okay.
coming over there.
Yeah, there's some creatures on there. That's pretty cool, actually. All right, let's come into Margaret's room. So everybody into Margaret's room. Yes.
Oh, and this is it's a crane.
So it is Japanese.
Well, now, yeah, there was then.
So this is Margaret's room. That's a portrait there of Margaret. When they moved into this house, Margaret was already 18, so she wasn't like a little girl who grew up in this house. She actually went to boarding school over in New Jersey where her grandparents lived. And she was a proper Victorian girl, so she went to boarding school. She learned her reading and writing and arithmetic, but she also learned French. She learned music. She learned art. She loved art, so I'll pass around. This is some of her artwork. And that's her artist stuff there. Yeah, and she also loved horticulture. She liked planting the gardens. She loved reading and education. She was the book buyer for Bristol Free Library. She would go down to Wanamaker's in Center City and buy lots of books and bring them back to the Bristol Library. She was the furniture selector for Pensbury Manor. She was in the anti-suffrage movement. She loved the Red Cross and was very supportive of that. Also, when they went to Europe, they visited Northern Africa, and this is a portrait or photograph of Mary and Margaret riding a camel in the desert in Northern Africa in their Victorian dresses.
What year was that?
Very prim and proper. It was sometime between 1893 and 1906, but I'm not sure when exactly that was. Yeah.
There are airplanes back then.
This is a Grundy Collections carpet. This is original. And the wallpaper is a William Morris. And you'll see again how beautiful it is with that pink lampshade, the glass reflecting off of the metallic light. So, any questions?
The bed seems tiny.
Yeah, you know what? They were tiny people. Oh, I didn't point out. I'll do it when we go back down. We have a walking dress on display down in the entry hall. That was hers. They were short, and so was Joseph was short too. People in general were short, but they were petite. I'll have to point out the walking dress when we go back down. All right, let's go into William's room.
Yeah.
This should be my room, basically. Like, this is a legitimate Elle's room. This should be my room.
This is what you deserve, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You know what?
So he didn't share this room then?
I think that a lot of them thought, I don't know for specific reasons, but a lot of them thought that what like politics wasn't the place for women. You know, that was their place was being homemaker, that sort of thing. I do know that there was something where there was an article written in support of suffrage, women's suffrage, and then Margaret's anti-suffrage group like wrote a response article to it, but I didn't actually get to read what that article was because I was kind of interested too, like what their response was to it. So
Yeah, housemaker was a lot easier than servants were doing all the house.
yeah, exactly. Well, when you have a full-time live-in staff. So here I can turn some lights in for you. This is a built-in closet. And you can take turns looking in here. That was sort of a new thing to have a built-in closet. Prior to that, people just used the armoires. You'll see up to the left, there's a circuit. It's like a knob and tube system, and there's different rooms labeled. And one of them said billiards from the third floor, so we are pretty sure that Joseph had a billiards room upstairs. And then to the right, there's an alarm system and a pair of batteries that were the original batteries that were used. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, you're good. Well, you're welcome to ask questions.
No, they're fighting.
Okay.
What are those? Are they just like little?
Those are the overhead storage. So one of them actually had that circuit panel in there. We moved it for the museum. But then that would just be additional storage space. Like hats could be stored up there or out of season clothes. This is another Grundy carpet. And this is the chair and footstool that has the original upholstery. So this is, you can see how it's very muted.
Oh, that's another driving.
And this is where William died. So he died on October 31st, 1893. He collapsed downstairs below us in the drawing room, and then they brought him up here to his bedroom, and this is where he died on Halloween. So the furniture in this room is Renaissance Revival, which was more popular in the 1860s. So a lot of these are kind of, would have felt old fashioned at the time when they moved in, but a lot of them were family heirloom pieces that William brought. Like that bedstand had the address from his previous home in Philadelphia written on it. So, any questions here in William's room?
At the time, how many people actually lived in the house?
So there was Mary and William and Margaret and Joseph, the 4 family members, plus there were the maid and the housekeeper, and then there was probably, I think, at least one male servant who lived on the property. So probably 3 to 4 servants, and then they also had a chauffeur who lived off-site and would come
Oh, wow.
once cars were invented. So, and even when there were coachmen, they would have maybe not lived here, but. All right, so probably like 8-ish about people, like, so 3 or 4 family members and like 4 servants. So some of them lived on the 3rd floor and some of them lived on the basement. So let's come into Mary's room. So you'll see Mary and William had their separate bedrooms, but they were connected. So it was a master suite, really. Partially because it was a status symbol, if you could afford to have a male master bedroom and a female master bedroom. Also, when you had the servants, toilet paper, as you go look around the door, there's a serrated blade to cut the toilet paper because they didn't have perforated toilet paper back then. And that roll of toilet paper has actually been there since the 1960s.
Oh, wow.
I'll use it. There's also a copper-lined bathtub with a zinc coating as well. So we still have all the Grundy items.
This one, this here.
No, yeah.
Threads of a Dream. It's an exhibit.
Oh, look at this. So our area was fall proof. All financial lids. Right. Proof one.
That's the grandfather clock. There it goes. So this room is a special exhibit room, so we always rotate what's in here. And so this is a lot of the things that Margaret discovered when she was tracing their family lineage. So we've got the Magna Carta dames and all their family tree here. Little colored dots correspond to the things over here. And so you can just take a look around. We also have this piano, which came from their family home on Neshaminy Creek, the Walnut Grove house that their grandmother originally lived in.
Is that still there or not?
No, unfortunately, that was demolished in the 1980s.
What's it now? Anything?
It's some sort of like business complex, but we do have a lot of items, at least from the house, that were saved. Like this phenomenal lamp here, that came from the Walnut Grove house,
Oh, okay.
and this table as well.
The spoon.
So we do have some things still from that house. This is the sword that Joseph Ridgway was holding in that portrait from when he was in the Union